The film begins by introducing Daisy, the main character, who is employed as a content moderator at a major social media platform. Her responsibility is to examine posts reported by users, known within the company as tickets. When a ticket breaks company rules, staff must remove it. If it doesn't, they approve it. Although the task appears straightforward, it drains them mentally because they spend long hours watching endless violent and upsetting footage. One day, during a regular shift, a coworker named Bob suddenly loses control and furiously threatens to burn the building down. Hearing this, a newcomer named Paul becomes alarmed, but Daisy calms him, explaining that Bob often acts this way and uses anger to handle stress. After finishing her shift, Daisy goes out with Isaac, a man she met through a dating app. During their time together, she talks about how unhappy she feels at work and admits she stays only because she has no better option. She also reveals that she once hoped to become a nurse and even sat for the entrance exam but failed to pass. Isaac motivates her to try again and chase her ambition, and the evening ends with them sharing an intimate moment. The following morning, Daisy is called into a meeting with her supervisor, Joy, who criticizes her for removing a clip showing a woman falling from a 20-story building and dying in a graphic way. Daisy defends herself, saying the footage was too disturbing to keep online, but Joy explains that it was connected to a legitimate news outlet and deleting it could put the company at risk legally. Daisy says she felt sympathy for the victim, yet Joy firmly reminds her that she is there to enforce the policies, not question them. That evening, while Daisy is unwinding at home, her neighbor stops by and asks if she can watch his daughter, Violet. She agrees, and when the child arrives, Daisy is concerned to see her browsing Reddit. Afraid the girl might encounter harmful material, Daisy asks her to put her phone aside and suggests they watch a movie instead, which Violet happily accepts. The next day at the office, Daisy speaks with her colleague Ava and mentions a new perspective she has gained. She explains that despite how terrible their job feels, it serves an important purpose, since they view disturbing content so that kids don't have to see it. Later, as she continues reviewing posts, Daisy finds a clip titled, "Nailed It," showing a woman resting in her bed. Suddenly, a person enters the room and violently attacks her with a nail. The shocking footage overwhelms Daisy so intensely that she faints on the spot. Ava immediately hurries to her side, and soon Daisy is transported to the hospital. Once she's back on her feet, Daisy meets up with Ava and confesses how ashamed she feels about passing out at work. Ava comforts her, saying others have reacted the same way before, and advises her to step away from the job for a little while. That evening, Daisy can't escape the memory of the nail clip, and sleep refuses to come. The following morning, she opens a hospital invoice totaling $2,200, and the amount angers her because her employer offers no medical coverage. With bills piling up, she feels forced to return to the same emotionally draining position. But the first clip that appears on her screen shows a person being decapitated, and the sight immediately shakes her to the core. Later on, she smokes marijuana and tries meditating to ease the pressure, yet the nail footage keeps replaying in her thoughts. Fed up, Daisy confronts Joy and urges her to alert the authorities about the video, claiming it shows kidnapping, torture, and assault. Joy brushes off the idea, suggesting the scene might have been staged and agreed upon by those involved. She cautions that reporting it without proof could cause major legal trouble if the company is wrong. When Daisy continues to argue, Joy tells her to seek therapy if the video is affecting her that badly. At the same time, Bob is sent to speak with the company therapist after a coworker complains about his aggressive behavior. The therapist recommends that he take short breaks and try coloring books to relax. Bob responds by describing the horrific material he's been reviewing, questioning how simple coloring could possibly erase those images. He insists the therapist should pay more attention to workers who quietly suffer through the content instead of venting like he does. In another moment, Daisy decides to handle the situation herself and visits a police station. She sits down with an officer and plays the nail clip for him. When he asks where she got it, she says it simply showed up in her feed and avoids mentioning her workplace. The officer explains he has no idea where the footage was shot and can only pursue cases within his area. He also thinks the video is probably staged and says he can't arrest someone for producing it unless it involves a minor. Furious at the response, Daisy snaps at him with insults before storming out. That night, still wide awake and thinking about the video, she searches online and eventually locates the same clip on an adult website. She discovers it was produced by a company called Clipspringer Films and spots an older man appearing in the scene. Daisy posts the clip on a Reddit forum, stating she is trying to identify the man shown in it. The next day at work, Paul views a deeply upsetting video that makes him feel sick to his stomach. Daisy steadies him and warns him not to throw up on the carpet because the company would deduct cleaning costs from them. Later, they eat lunch together, and Paul mentions that he actually studied computer science and programming in college. That evening, Daisy watches online tutorials about self-defense and looks up tasers and pepper spray for protection. Soon after, someone replies to her Reddit thread. A user named Callum says he couldn't identify the man but managed to trace the IP address where the video was uploaded. The following day, Daisy enters the location into Google Maps and realizes it's just a 2-hour drive away. She then approaches Bob and asks if she can borrow a firearm for a day. Bob feels insulted by the assumption and firmly tells her he doesn't own a gun. The next day, Daisy drives to the listed address, and upon arrival, she checks the mailbox and learns the homeowner's name is Richard before heading back to her car. As she searches the name online, a man suddenly steps out of the house, and he appears to be Richard. Daisy trails him to a movie theater and watches as he takes a seat to view a brutal film. When the screening finishes, she follows Richard into the parking area and begins shouting insults at him. Confused by her behavior, he listens as she plays the disturbing clip and accuses him of posting it online, but he reacts with shock and insists he knows nothing about it. He calls her insane for showing him something so awful, then gets into his car and drives off, leaving Daisy baffled. Back at her apartment, she logs into Reddit and tells Callum she confronted the wrong person. Callum then admits the address belonged to a coworker he dislikes, and he shared it just to get back at him. He goes further, calling Daisy a terrible person for uploading such horrific content and saying he hopes she ends up jailed and abused, which makes her furious. The following day, Daisy once again eats lunch with Paul and asks him to use his tech skills to help locate the man from the video. He immediately declines and questions what she intends to do if she finds him, and she says she only wants to face him once before letting it go. Paul still refuses, warning that men like that are dangerous and she could seriously harm herself by getting involved. That night, as usual, Daisy lies awake and replays the footage, searching carefully for anything that might point her in the right direction. She observes a masked figure tormenting the woman while an older man sits close by, enjoying the scene. Disturbed but determined, Daisy contacts Klipspringer Films and offers to participate in one of their future shoots as a model. The next day, Joy talks with her own supervisor and raises concerns about how often staff members have been fainting. She proposes implementing safety precautions, such as purchasing emergency medical equipment or a crash cart. However, her superior argues that corporate headquarters would shut their branch down if such problems became known and instead suggests planning an event to lift employee spirits. Soon after, the company throws a party where workers are drinking and trying to enjoy themselves. But the atmosphere quickly darkens when the conversation shifts to the worst clips they have ever reviewed, and everyone starts sharing stories. Paul admits he hasn't encountered his worst one yet, prompting Bob to advise him to quit before that day comes. Once her coworkers head home, Daisy, now intoxicated, remains at the venue and begins chatting with the bartender. She opens up about her job and the horrifying footage that has been haunting her. The bartender says he recognizes the clip she's describing and claims it also showed up in his feed. Daisy doubts that explanation, struggling to believe it simply appeared by chance. They step outside to mess around, and during the moment Daisy slips off his belt. Suddenly, the situation becomes strange and unsettling when, after the man falls to the ground, Daisy finally stops and walks away. Back in her apartment, she is shown sleeping calmly for the first time in a long while. The next morning at work, Daisy grows anxious upon seeing police officers inside the building. Ava explains that someone from the night shift had a stroke and no one knew how to respond. She also mentions that management claims the worker is fine, though they always say that to keep employees from panicking. Later that evening, while babysitting Violet again, Daisy receives a message from Klipspringer Films asking if she is free because they are filming tonight. Unwilling to lose this chance, Daisy decides to leave Violet alone, telling her she needs to handle something at work. Violet feels nervous about staying by herself, but Daisy assures her she will lock the door and return soon. Shortly afterward, Daisy reaches the studio where the filming is taking place and is welcomed by a man. He gives her paperwork to complete, and she shows him a photo of the older man from the nail video, asking whether he knows who he is. The man brushes off her question and reminds her that their rules strictly forbid bringing phones inside. At that moment, Daisy starts to panic and heads for the exit, only to realize the door has been locked. Thinking she is simply nervous about participating, the man offers her money to convince her to stay, but she refuses and demands he open the door immediately. After she keeps insisting, he finally unlocks it and allows her to leave, but on her way out she notices his shoes and recognizes them as the same pair from the nail video. A surge of anger takes over, and she turns back toward him, spraying pepper spray directly into his face. She then destroys the camera and other recording gear before fleeing the studio. When Daisy gets home, she is terrified to discover that Violet is missing. A knock suddenly echoes at the door, and Violet's father stands there, furious that Daisy abandoned his 10-year-old daughter alone. He rejects her apology and harshly scolds her before storming off. The following day, Daisy reaches out to Isaac, whom she has avoided for months, and asks to spend time together. She goes to his apartment, where he helps her review material for her nursing studies. Later, while they lie in bed, loud banging from a neighbor hammering on the wall keeps interrupting her thoughts. The repeated noise triggers her trauma, and she abruptly loses control. She pounds on the wall and shouts angrily at the neighbor, leaving Isaac stunned. After a while, Daisy settles down and suggests they continue being intimate, but Isaac refuses and tells her he doesn't want to see her anymore. In another moment, Paul is on duty when he encounters a horrifying clip of a dog being severely mistreated, which deeply disturbs him. Unable to handle it, he walks out of the office in tears. Back at home, he falls into his dog's embrace and cries uncontrollably. Some time later, Paul hands Daisy an envelope containing information about the man she has been searching for. He makes it clear he doesn't want to know her intentions, but pleads with her to stay safe. At home, Daisy researches what human flesh feels like and reads that its texture is similar to beef. She begins practicing by hammering nails into a slab of beef, revealing the dark plan forming in her mind. The next day at work, Bob reviews a clip that leaves him stunned. Later, he shows Daisy a video of her violently attacking the bartender. Bob assures her that her identity isn't obvious and says he only recognized her because of the outfit she wore that night. He asks if she was defending herself, but Daisy denies that and expresses regret over what she did. Bob explains that the footage doesn't break company rules, so he has chosen to approve it, since removing it might attract unwanted corporate attention. That evening, Daisy remains troubled by guilt, and the following day she schedules a session with the company therapist. She speaks about a violent clip she cannot erase from her memory and admits it sparked a desire to harm someone. The counselor tells her that in such cases people often develop a hero complex, focusing on punishing the villain instead of helping the victim. However, Daisy believes the woman in the video may have wanted the man to suffer as well, just as she does. Understanding she can no longer continue this way, Daisy tells Joy she is resigning from her position. Joy reminds her that her contract requires a 2-week notice before leaving. Daisy accepts this condition and, over the next several days, balances her job duties with preparing for her nursing exams. She volunteers at a soup kitchen and studies whenever she can, even during work hours. When the 2 weeks finally end, Daisy signs out for the last time and walks away to start a new chapter. Days later, the story shifts to Daisy after she has successfully passed her nursing exam and arrives at a hospital for a job interview. During the meeting, she discusses lessons from her former job and unexpectedly says she would rather make the world worse than stand by and do nothing. The interviewer looks confused, so Daisy clarifies that terrible events happen regardless, and sometimes stopping one bad act requires committing another. The man remains puzzled about why she is saying this in a professional interview or how it connects to nursing, but Daisy insists it is relevant. Then the camera reveals the interviewer's face, and in a shocking twist, he is the same older man from the nail video who has haunted her all along. The film concludes with Daisy giving a sly, unsettling smile. If this story gave you chills and touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might change the way you see the world.